Fleshless Man Froome, and this is my dog Koji. He's a Swiss Shepherd, and we're going to talk about equipment you need in the courses today. Alright, so I'll go through from, let's start with the balls and the tugs. Alright, so when we teach the dogs, we teach them structured play, so that means play with rules. Really important for reactive dogs because we get in control of the dog when it's in an excited state. Alright, now what I like to use is something with some sort of length to it, because obviously otherwise if you just use a normal ball you're going to get bitten, because generally in that excited state that kind of tend to snap around, especially shepherds. So we like to use things with ropes. So you can buy balls like this which are foam and they float. You can buy rubber ones which don't float but they're nice for the dog to hold in their mouth. So if your dog loves balls, they're a good option. They also go in the ball throwers. And then you've got things like tugs. Alright, I don't really mind what you use. You can use their favourite rope toy or whatever, as long as you can, carry it with you. You can put a carabiner on these and just put them on your pants or whatever. This is a nice soft tug. If your dog's not used to playing tug, this is really nice and really nice for them to grip. Otherwise, if your dog's really hard on the tug, you're going to need a really firm tug. So anything like this to do structure play with is fine. So that's one of the things you'll need, is one of those, or a favourite toy that's going to survive a bit of tugging. Alright. Now you need a long line. I actually provide these in my courses. The reason I provide them is if I had people provide them before and they're real heavy. These are polyester, they're really light. They're cut into 10-metre lengths. If you need to replace it at any point, it's like $10 to replace it, but we give you one for free in your course. Alright, you will also need a bed. So you will need a canvas. This is one that comes from Kmart. It's just a metal frame, some kind of plastic covered bed, right? Because we're going to be teaching the place command, which needs to be done on a raised surface, so a soft bed will not do. You will need some sort of metal frame covered bed. Right, taking the dog off. I bought this one at Temple and Webster. People seem to love this one. It folds up and you can carry it and stuff like that. So I'll bring these to a lot of my trainings. So you will only need your bed at home, alright? You won't need to bring it to the course if we're out and about. I will have a place, a bed there. So don't worry about it. Now the other thing with these beds is most of them are see-through, right? And dogs don't generally like see-through beds if they're a little bit anxious. I find that pretty much all the reactive and anxious dogs don't like stepping on them. So you just put a sheet over them or a mat. I usually just put this mat on it, and then my dog's much happier hopping on it. Yes, that's your place, isn't it? Yes. Yes, good job. You're so clever. Yes, you are. Alright, break. You can get off at any time. You can stay on with it. The next thing I want to talk to you about is collars. Alright, so you're going to need a flat collar on your dog. We're going to be using that on things like the long line and stuff like that. And for some of the dogs, the flat collar will be enough. If your dog, if it's a little Chihuahua, a flat collar is probably going to be enough, right? If you have a big, strong breed that's dragging you around by the collar already, you're not going to be using the flat collar to train loose leash walking. You're still going to use it for the long line and things like that. And it's going to, when you teach loose leash walking, you're going to realise very quickly that it doesn't really matter what collar you use once you train it, because the leash is going to be loose no matter where you move, what you do, that leash is going to be loose. And you're going to explain that to the dog in the way that he understands. And if your dog's already dragging around though on a flat collar, and it's a big strong boy, and even if it's not, I use a choker chain. Alright, it's basically a metal slip leash. It releases nicely, and it also makes a noise. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Alright, and that noise will also indicate to the dog that the chain's tightening. So, that actually helps. Once it's taut, they kind of hear that and they go, oh, yep, okay, I'm tightening the collar, I'm going to back off the leash, alright? So, if anyone's done any training with me before, they know with loose leash walking that basically we only tighten it when we correct, and at every other point it's loose, loose, loose. Because you're not dragging this dog around and choking it out. That is not, I know it's called a choker chain, but that is not how we use any sort of chain. Now, if your dog is unreactive to that chain and you've already been using that chain and it's deconditioned to that chain, then we go to a pinch collar. And I know these pinch collars, I mean, this one's pretty, it's like a rainbow color. But these pinch collars look terrible, but if you actually put them on your arm and you yank on it, you'll realise that they're not sharp. Now, if you are buying yourself one of these collars, be careful, because there are a lot of them that are very sharp. So I don't, make sure you get one off me or buy a really good one, like the Herm Sprenger ones. I know they're like expensive, but they're well worth it. And I suggest buying a quick release one because it's, obviously a lot easier to put on and off the dog. Then you're trying to take prongs out and stuff like that. What you do want, the fit you want with a pinch collar is you do want it fairly tight because you don't want it moving around like that because then you get rubbing on the dog and you don't want that. That's not how they're designed to work. You'll also realise that there's two rings on these pinch collars, right? So one of them is a dead ring, which really doesn't do anything. So you actually put the two together, and one's a live ring. All right. So you need to make sure that your collar has that. All right. So that's a pinch collar. You're going to learn how to use it. It's going to be the same technique in every single loose leash walking you do. There's never going to be pressure on you're never going to be dragging the dog around on this. It's going to be very gentle pops. I give these to people that have arthritis in their hands, that have a lot of mobility issues. And look, my dog, he was on a flat collar, then he was on a choker chain, and I was like, what the hell is going on? This dog dragged me around, and I have a really bad back. So I ended up going to a pinch collar, and I trained him on a pinch collar, but once he understood how to do it on a pinch collar, I then went back to the choker, and then I went back to the flat. And you can work your dog back, but he needs to understand how to move, how to come off pressure, and that sort of thing. So depending on where your dog is going to be depend on what collar you use, all right? And you can talk to me, you can give me a call, and that's pretty much everything about equipment. Get all those things organised. If you're in my reactive rehab course, of course, you must have a muzzle. You should be muzzle training 3 weeks beforehand with my muzzle training videos. So make sure you're doing that. And make sure the muzzle fitting video and everything, make sure you watch that to make sure the muzzles are fitting correctly. But look, even if you're not in my reactive rehab course, I highly recommend you muzzle train your dog because you never know when the vet's going to whack one on if they're injured or sick and they're reactive at that point, and then they're going to stress out even more because you've whacked a muzzle on them. So I really recommend getting a muzzle, it doesn't matter who you are, and training them to accept it and build a really, really good association with it, which is what we want, because that's really going to unstress the dog. If you like this video, then subscribe and like, and you can subscribe to my channel to get more content like this. Speak to you guys soon. See ya!